First, I wanted to say thank you to the residents of Huntington Beach for allowing me to serve this community for the last 2 decades. I'd also like to thank my family, who sacrificed 2 Tuesdays a month for 12 years, and some Wednesday mornings too. The endless phone calls during bath time or dinner time, the late night preparing for meetings, the social media blackouts imposed on them so that my wife didn't get arrested, and for seeing some of the absolute horrible things people say when they're sitting behind their keyboards, and some of the things that are actually said in this room. But it's what you sign up for when you choose to serve. It shouldn't be, but it is. And you're not here for yourself, you're here in spite of yourself. So when I first moved to Huntington Beach from Seal Beach nearly 20 years ago, I never considered that I'd be up here helping to lead this great city. What I've learned, the experiences I've had, and my own personal growth from being 24 when I started to being 42 now, have definitely had an impact on how I approach things. My favorite part of this job has been constituent services, getting stop signs put in, fixing sidewalks, solving problems with permits, and trying to improve quality of life at the micro level for folks. But my best experiences of this whole endeavor have been the amazing people I've met along the way. I've had the opportunity to meet former presidents and future ones, members of Congress, legislators, regulators, law enforcement. But it's our residents and the business owners who give thousands of hours of their time to make this community better. They're the ones who have left an indelible mark on me. Those who just show up and start doing the work that needs to be done. I salute those folks who sometimes get ahead of the city and are reined back in, but are there early in the morning to late at night for no pay just to make the city a better place for everyone. Having been an official part of HB's government for the last 13 years, I've seen a lot of changes and a lot of civic engagement. But what I try to always be aware of is how we use our power. Was it to protect those who have historically been unprotected, or was it to be spiteful? I tried my best to make sure that we had an alert and knowledgeable citizenry. But with outside forces working for their own benefit, I failed. It wasn't for lack of trying, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to stop trying to make sure our residents are informed of what their city is doing and helping to explain how our government works or the why of things. Since the election, I didn't realize how much mental load this job puts on you and the ones in your family. I've been thinking a lot about tonight what I might say to both those that voted for me and those that didn't. I got to thinking about what others have done and said as they leave office, and so that brought me to President Eisenhower's farewell address, the one that created the term the military-industrial complex. I remember reading about the fact that there was much more of that speech than just that line. So I watched it over the weekend on C-SPAN, and there's some really interesting takeaways that I wanted to share as I leave office, so that the incoming council and those in the community might ruminate on them as they take up the reins of power. Ike, who had served his country for 50 years in both peacetime and at war as Supreme Allied Commander, and then as President of these United States, suggested that we, quote, must avoid the impulse to live only for today. And paraphrasing, that he said, we want HB to survive for all generations to come and not to become the insolvent phantom of tomorrow. The intense responsibility you have as a council member to represent and care for the 1,500 employees and the 200,000 residents in your stead should not be forgotten at any time. I don't want to forget to thank all of the staff who made my job easier, who trained me in land use, who gave me the tools to be successful, and who would answer my endless questions in an attempt to hit the 4 corners of the box on a project or policy. And I'd like to thank Robin for her commitment to public service and her service to Huntington Beach through the ups and the downs and through 20 years of service. Thank you. You do this for them, not for yourself. You must show up prepared, but also be able to explain how and why you're voting the way you are. This will be even more important going forward, since it appears there'll be little disagreement among the new members. But to the residents of HB, I say thank you for the opportunity. And hold on. If the last 2 years are any example, I will not wager what the next 4 will bring. But I leave you with the final policy thoughts during my last few minutes on council. Y'all, we need to build more housing. Every single issue in this city can be traced back to a lack of affordable and attainable housing. Homelessness, inflation, school closures, traffic, lack of customers for businesses, lack of employees for businesses, lack of growth in city revenue. All of these are tied to people not being able to afford to live here. And those that are barely able to afford to live here at $6,000 a month are living there with 5 buddies. And these aren't the families we want moving into our neighborhoods. This is why you never see a house not sell in HB. The Saudis and the Chinese sovereign wealth funds and Goldman Sachs and Blackstone Capital are happy to make all cash purchases of our housing stock. And with Prop 19's removal of passing down property taxes to your children, you're going to see the numbers of folks renting in this city skyrocket. We are not housing our existing residents appropriately, and we're not preparing for the next generation of residents. Our job on this council is to plan for the future and to work to predict what the next generation of Huntington Beach residents may need. That currently looks like senior assisted living facilities and healthcare facilities. So why not work on making Huntington Beach Hospital a world-class facility? I know I tried.
Your 5 minutes.
I didn't see a timer. I've got one last page here.
It's on the agenda.
I know, I understand that.
It's on the
Can I finish my
agenda.
last page here for my service? Do you mind if I finish my last page here, Mayor?
No, we're going to move on.
Wild.
Councilmember Mo.
Gracie would not let him finish, but here is what Dan Kalmick might have said.
If we don't figure out housing, the city will rot from within. No investment, privatization of public resources, taxpayer giveaways to campaign buddies, and outsourcing. That's the future of Huntington Beach. So I ask residents to hold their elected officials accountable. The tenor of some of the speakers at the last meeting is not how we can move forward as a community. We all live here, and this winner-take-all attitude, this tribalism, this is somebody else has something, then you don't get something, is corrosive to our community. We all get to live here. Some of us just want that opportunity to extend to others in the same way those who currently live here had that opportunity. Yes, we've built out the city over the last 100 years, but now it's time for the next iteration. It's planning for the inevitable future, not sticking your head in the sand. And now you're not planning for the future and leaving things worse than you found it. I'm proud of the work and groundwork I helped lay for the future of Huntington Beach. It's unfortunate that much of that work will be shelved or dismantled. I thank all of you for this opportunity of a lifetime. Good night and good luck.